The last day, Isaiah stood in the colonel's study as the first light of dawn broke through the windows, casting long shadows across the mahogany desk. He had dressed with particular care this morning, the white shirt pressed smooth, the dark vest buttoned precisely, the leather shoes polished until they gleamed. Every detail of his appearance spoke of the faithful servant, the grateful clerk who had been elevated from the fields to this position of trust. The performance had to be perfect. Just one more day. Isaiah. Colonel Belmont's voice carried from the doorway, and Isaiah turned with the practiced deference of 2 years' careful cultivation. Good, you're already here. Excellent. Yes, sir. I wanted to ensure everything was in order before your departure. Isaiah gestured to the desk where he'd arranged the account books, inventory lists, and correspondence in neat stacks. All the records are current. Mr. Crow will find everything clearly documented. The colonel moved to the desk, his fingers trailing across the leather-bound ledgers. You've done well, Isaiah. Very well indeed. He paused, and Isaiah felt the weight of his gaze. I confess, when I first discovered your literacy, I wondered if it might prove problematic. But you've shown yourself to be trustworthy, reliable. Each word of praise felt like a knife sliding between Isaiah's ribs. Thank you, sir. I'm grateful for the opportunity you've given me. Yes, well, the colonel cleared his throat. Mrs. Belmont and I will be departing within the hour. The trunks are being loaded now. I want you to remain here in the study today. Crow may have questions about the accounts, and you're to assist him as needed. Do you understand? Yes, sir. Of course. Good man. The colonel clapped him on the shoulder, and Isaiah forced himself not to flinch. We'll return in 6 weeks. Keep everything running smoothly, and there may be another increase in your valuation when we return. Another increase. Another few $100s added to the price of his own body in the account books. I'll do my best, sir, Isaiah said, and the words tasted like ashes. The colonel left, and Isaiah stood alone in the study, listening to the sounds of departure preparation echoing through the house. Footsteps on the stairs. Trunks being dragged across floors. Mrs. Belmont's sharp voice issuing final instructions to the house servants. Hannah would be there, helping with the last-minute packing, enduring Mrs. Belmont's suspicious scrutiny one final time. Isaiah moved to the window and watched as the household staff carried luggage to the waiting carriage. He caught a glimpse of Hannah's slender form moving between the house and the carriage, her arms laden with hat boxes. She never looked toward the study window. She couldn't risk it. But he memorized the sight of her anyway, the graceful way she moved, the proud set of her shoulders, despite the burden she carried. Tomorrow night, she would walk free. They all would. Or they would die trying. Isaiah. Mrs. Belmont's voice cut through his thoughts like a blade, and he turned to find her standing in the doorway. He hadn't heard her approach. A word. Of course, ma'am. He remained perfectly still as she entered the study, her silk dress rustling with each step. She didn't speak immediately. Instead, she walked slowly around the room, her fingers trailing across the furniture, her eyes taking in every detail. Isaiah had seen her use this technique before. The deliberate silence, the careful observation, the way she let tension build until her target began to squirm. He kept his face neutral, his breathing steady. The colonel thinks very highly of you, she said finally, her back still to him. He believes you're loyal, trustworthy. She turned, and her eyes were cold. I'm not so certain. Isaiah said nothing. There was nothing safe to say. I've watched you, Isaiah. Watched the way you move through this house, the way you look at things, at people, when you think no one's observing. She took a step closer. You're very careful, very controlled. It makes me wonder what you're hiding. His heart hammered against his ribs, but his expression remained placid. I'm not hiding anything, ma'am. I'm simply trying to do my work well. Are you? She tilted her head, studying him like a naturalist examining an insect. Mr. Crow will be watching everything while we're gone. Everything. If anything seems amiss, if any of the servants behave strangely, if supplies go missing, if anyone is found where they shouldn't be, he has instructions to deal with it immediately. Do you understand what I'm saying? Yes, ma'am. I hope you do. She moved toward the door, then paused. The colonel may trust you, Isaiah, but I know what you people are capable of when you think you see an opportunity. Her smile was thin and sharp. Don't mistake his absence for freedom. This plantation will be watched. You will be watched. Remember that." She left, and Isaiah stood frozen for a long moment, his hands clenched at his sides. She knew something was wrong. She might not know what, specifically, but her instincts were screaming warnings, and there was nothing he could do about it except continue forward. The plan was set. The timeline was fixed. They had no choice but to proceed. An hour later, Isaiah stood with the other house servants in the front drive as the Belmont's carriage prepared to depart. Hannah stood 3 people away from him, her eyes downcast, her hands folded. Crow stood nearby, his arms crossed, his expression watchful. Colonel Belmont emerged from the house, Mrs. Belmont on his arm. He surveyed the assembled servants with satisfaction. "We'll return in 6 weeks," he announced. "Mr. Crow has full authority in our absence. You will obey him as you would obey me. Work hard, behave properly, and all will be well." His gaze swept across them. "Disappoint me, and you'll regret it." "Safe travels, sir," Isaiah said, and the other servants echoed the sentiment. The colonel nodded, helped his wife into the carriage, and climbed in after her. The driver snapped the reins, and the carriage rolled forward, wheels crunching on the gravel drive. Isaiah watched it disappear down the tree-lined avenue, carrying the Belmonts toward Charleston and freedom for 8 desperate souls. Crew's voice shattered the moment. "Back to work. All of you. And remember, I'll be watching. Everything." The servants dispersed quickly. Isaiah caught the briefest glimpse of Hannah's face as she turned toward the house. Her eyes met his for a fraction of a second, and in that instant he saw her determination, her fear, her love. Then she was gone, and he was walking back to the study, back to his desk, back to the performance that would last exactly 24 more hours. The day crawled by with agonizing slowness. Crow came to the study 3 times, asking questions about supplies, about schedules, about the servants' assignments. Each time, Isaiah answered clearly and thoroughly, projecting calm competence while his mind raced through the escape plan for the 1,000th time. 30 miles to the Patterson farm. Follow the creek north for 3 miles. Travel only at night, stay off the roads. If separated, regroup at the safe house. He had memorized every detail, burned every written note, prepared for every contingency he could imagine. But Mrs. Belmont's words kept echoing in his mind. "You will be watched. Everything will be watched." At midday, Abigail brought his dinner, cornbread and beans, still warm from the kitchen. She set the plate on his desk without speaking, but as she turned to leave, she stumbled slightly, her hand brushing against the account book on the corner of the desk. When Isaiah looked down, he found a tiny scrap of paper tucked beneath the book's edge. He palmed it quickly, his heart racing. Abigail was already gone. Isaiah waited until he was certain he was alone, then unfolded the paper. The message was brief, written in Moses's careful hand. "R worse. M ready. All ready." Ruth's cold was worse, but Mercy had prepared the sleeping tea. They would manage. Isaiah burned the note in the fireplace, watching the paper curl and blacken. 24 hours. Just 24 more hours. The afternoon stretched endlessly. Isaiah worked through the account books, making careful notations, maintaining the fiction that everything was normal. Through the window, he could see enslaved people moving through their routines, working in the garden, carrying water, tending to their endless tasks under Crow's watchful eye. Somewhere out there, Moses was at his forge. Abigail was in the kitchen. Hannah was in the house. Mercy was in her cabin preparing medicines. Samuel and Elijah were in the fields. Clara was picking cotton, and little Ruth was coughing in her mother's arms. 8 people, bound together by desperation and hope, waiting for darkness. As the sun began its descent toward the horizon, painting the sky in shades of orange and gold, Isaiah allowed himself to imagine tomorrow night. The meeting at the swamp's edge. The first steps north. The feel of Hannah's hand in his as they walked toward freedom. Or the sound of dogs baying in the distance. The crack of rifles. The weight of chains. Both futures were possible. Both were real. Isaiah. He turned to find Jacob standing in the doorway, his weathered face unreadable. The old man rarely came to the big house. His presence here was unusual enough to be dangerous. "Jacob, is something wrong?" "Crow sent me to fetch more nails from the storeroom. Thought I'd stop by." Jacob's eyes were sharp despite his age. "Wanted to remind you about something." Isaiah waited. "Remember what I told you before," Jacob said quietly. "About the North Star. About using water to hide your scent. About the right words to say to the right people." He paused. "And remember this too. Sometimes the hardest part isn't the running. It's the waiting before you run. That's when the mind plays tricks. That's when fear gets loudest." Isaiah nodded slowly, understanding. Jacob knew, he'd always known. "Thank you," Isaiah said softly. Jacob's expression didn't change, but something flickered in his eyes. Approval, perhaps. Or hope. "I taught you to read all those years ago because I believed you'd use it for something important. I hope I was right." "You were. Good." Jacob turned to leave, then paused. "Your mother would be proud of you, boy. Whatever happens next, remember that." Then he was gone, leaving Isaiah alone with the weight of those words. The sun set. Darkness fell. Isaiah remained in the study until Crow came to dismiss him, studying the account books by lamplight, playing his role to perfection. "Go on to your quarters," Crow said. "I'll lock up here. And Isaiah, I'll be making rounds tonight, all night, just so you know." "Yes, sir. Good night, sir." Isaiah walked back to his small room behind the kitchen, every step measured and calm. Inside, he lit a candle and sat on his narrow bed, listening to the sounds of the plantation settling into night. Somewhere in the darkness, 7 other people were lying in their beds, counting down the same hours, fighting the same fear, nursing the same desperate hope. Tomorrow night at this time, they would be running, or they would be caught, or they would be dead. But tonight, they were still here, still waiting, still preparing themselves for the moment when everything would change. Isaiah pulled out the hidden map one last time, not to study it, but to say goodbye to it. He had memorized every line, every landmark, every mile. Tomorrow, he would burn it, destroying the last piece of physical evidence. But tonight, he traced the route north with his finger one final time, following the path from slavery to freedom, from death to life, from this plantation to a future he could barely imagine. 30 miles to the Patterson farm, 70 miles to the second safe house, hundreds of miles through Maryland, Pennsylvania, New York. And at the end of it all, if they survived, if they made it, if luck and courage and careful planning were enough. Freedom. Isaiah folded the map and tucked it away. Tomorrow night, he would burn it. Tomorrow night, he would become a thief, stealing himself and 7 others from Colonel Belmont's property. Tomorrow night, he would either succeed or fail, live or die, be free or be destroyed. But tonight, he was still Isaiah the clerk, Isaiah the trusted servant, Isaiah the faithful slave. For 24 more hours, he would wear that mask, and then he would tear it off forever. Outside his window, clouds drifted across the moon. In the distance, he heard the mournful call of an owl. The plantation slept, unaware that 8 of its prisoners were counting down the hours to rebellion. Isaiah blew out the candle and lay down in the darkness, his eyes open, his mind racing through the plan one more time. Tomorrow night, everything would change. Tomorrow night, they would be free. Or they would be dead.
Thanks for watching our stories. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more epic adventures. Thanks for watching our stories. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more epic adventures.